Welcome to
we are.
Happiness Economy. This is it. We are live, but we're not live, but we are online, and we're simply online because sometimes the happiness can't travel. Sometimes the happiness is busy, and sometimes the happiness is in another city, another country. So we're going to be doing a couple of online to make sure that we're still bringing you guests that make us happy. Hello, Nicholas.
Hello, Jason. How are you?
Oh, I'm amazing. I'm extra excited, and I can't believe that this guest even said yes.
I can't believe that he said yes because he's a good friend of ours. From
That's true.
before he was a famous rugby player, he was good friends
No,
with
he
us.
was already a famous rugby player.
Yeah, well, he wasn't a Springbok at the time when we made
Facts, facts, facts.
that. Yeah. So we know him from before the glory days. And I'm just very excited for our first online session. I hope that everybody knows what a massive stress it was to set this whole thing up for us. We have to do it at home.
We are men in our 40s and technology is not our mother tongue. Let me tell you, we are struggling.
So thank you for being here. Because it was a struggle. We didn't even know if we were going to make it this far. But here we are, bringing more happiness.
So,
Do I
ladies
sound
and
happy?
gentlemen, South African rugby legend. I'm going straight in. South African rugby legend, a great friend of mine and one of the nicest humans you will ever have the good fortune of meeting. We're honored to have him on the Happiness Economy podcast. Please welcome Courtnall Skosan.
What's up, guys? What's up? What's up? Thanks for that intro, man. That was so cool.
Thank you. Thank
Courtnall, you are so handsome since you cut your hair,
you.
bro. I've been wanting to tell you the whole
Yeah.
time. You are
Yo,
so handsome.
thanks,
No,
man.
it's
I'll take that
beautiful.
one.
The rug- Did you hear the round of applause when you came in?
I saw you clapping.
Oh, but you didn't. No, because I have a sound effects machine that I'm trying to use and see if it works also. Because you
Oh,
are our
right.
first online guest, so we're kind of using you as a test subject, and we are very excited to have you as our first subject.
No, that's cool, man. That's cool. Well, this is the future. Hey, being online is the future. I've done quite a few remote ones as well. It's such a nice way for you to still get the episodes out and get to your guests, And yeah, obviously this is the first one now, so I'm on it.
So it reminds me of Goliath's Go Live, which was the online show that we started during lockdown when nobody could do anything and we didn't know what to do. So we just decided to start a channel to entertain people who need to be entertained because everybody was stressing. And I think that it's made this kind of normal for all of us. So let's dala. Coach, I'm gonna ask you up front for those of you that only watch soccer. Please tell the people who the great Courtnall Skosan is.
Well, if I had to put it in my words, I'll first say that I'm a child of God, father, husband, a child to my mother as well. And then, what I do is I do play a bit of sport. I'm a professional rugby player. I've done so since 2010. I almost say 2010. 2010, it does feel like then. But yeah, 2010, I've started my professional career. I've been playing ever since. This is year 60 now. So, still feeling young and fresh. Let's see how many years I can still do it. And then, yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Dude, I love that you went there first and didn't just accept that I'm a rugby player. You have to let
Mm,
people know exactly who you are because too many people take what they do and it becomes who they are. And you
yeah.
are not a rugby player. You are a father, a husband, and a son. That's
Mm,
beautiful.
mm.
Beautiful. And you're doing comedy almost as long as you are playing rugby. So
Sure.
basically,
Same WhatsApp
not
group.
broke.
Coach, I mean, we've been friends probably for almost 10 years now, and we've
Mm.
got to see a lot of different phases, of you. And how much did that change? Maybe let's start there. How much did the way you identify to yourself change over the years? So I'm talking about um, first rugby player, then a guy that's engaged and getting married, now
Mm.
a husband and a father. How much did the way you identify to yourself change over the years?
Sure, like that's such a good question. I don't think about this a lot, but I think as a young child having a dream of playing professional and you being so consumed by that dream and trying to get better and working hard, that kind of was a lot of what my identity was in the beginning. I remember doing a talk at a church once, and I explained to them like how I felt like I never fitted in. I was never the cool kid. I was never the most popular guy on school, even,
Yeah.
it's the weirdest thing. I was shy, like I didn't like doing mondelings, like when you did like prepared speech. I used to,
Yeah. Yeah.
my hands used to shake when I'm doing stuff like that. But now what I do is I talk and I chat to people and I meet people all around the world. But a lot of my identity was found in being good at sport or being good at athletics, first of all, and then rugby. So that kind of shaped a lot of who I was. And I think when I met my wife, for the first time, I started realizing that there's more to, for me to love and experience than just myself, going somewhere. Now I have someone that I can partner with and find my journey, with that person, and having that backing and two put together, just walking this path. I mean, for me, that was the nicest thing. I always said that I wanted to meet someone that was, had a good foundation, built on faith, and all the boxes that I wanted, is exactly what God sent me. And then, I'm taking you in a flash now through all of the phases, but then
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
kids, all of a sudden I'm not speeding on the highway anymore. I'm not losing my mind when someone cuts in front of me and I'm trying to brake check them and all of that kind of
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
Like your personality changes in that sense, because now you've got little ones that are looking and seeing, and if you make a
Yeah.
mistake, it could mean another life. You start to think a little bit differently about life. So you don't take chances anymore, because you're now not just a young man trying to find yourself. You're a father. You're supposed to be an example. So, and then being a husband as well, that comes with a lot of responsibility. You need to be a provider. So the way you think, is like, how can I continuously provide? Because being a rugby player, you know it's obviously every year, second year, you're busy negotiating a contract. That could be either a next phase of your career, or it could be the end of your career. You don't know what that looks like,
Yeah.
So it's a lot of those things now has shaped me into understanding that, first of all, I gave my heart to the Lord when I was 19 years old, just before my 19th birthday. Was on fire for God, and then lost my way a little bit because of too much freedom, and then found my way back, and understanding that how faith has taken me through my journey in life, through so many challenges, and through so many good times, and all the prayers that I prayed as a lighty 8 years old, 7 years old. I got to live and see it and still live in that. So
Yes.
that's why I identify myself immediately as a child of God, because I just know how much faith has meant to me in my life and still mean to me, to this day.
Yeah. So, what? Tell me. Obviously, the church has played a big role in your life, and it's
Mm.
played a big in your life. And you say that you lost yourself a little bit, which I think is a natural thing for any kind of night. Yeah.
Mhm.
What
Mm.
was it that? What was the point where you?
Especially a 19-year-old with a six pack. Can I
Yo,
just say,
yo,
19-year-old with six packs, it's very easy to lose your way. When you got a bit of horse, bit of six pack, and that's this line. I've never had that line here on your arm.
uh, uh,
You have
uh,
this line separating shoulder and bicep. Very hard to make good decisions.
yo.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I was saying is, what was the point where you realized things weren't going in your direction, in the way you wanted it to go? Your life wasn't moving. Because I assume
Mm.
that was part of the reason you realized, or part of the understanding or realization that you moved away
Mm.
from your religion, from your beliefs, and something needs to change in order for your life to get back on track. I assume you felt that you were going off track, if
Mm.
I'm understanding.
Yeah. No, perfect. Like, just to give you a bit of context, I grew up in a house where, going to church was a must. Like,
And
it's kerkskool, kerkcamp, like your formal shoes, and Sunday school and all the stuff. So I had all the foundation and all of that. But then moving out of Cape Town, my parents were really strict, which I'm grateful for when I look at it back at it now. I didn't enjoy it that time. But then when I went to Pretoria, it was the first time in my life where there was no mother and father waiting up at night, checking my movements, making sure I'm coming in on time. So all of a sudden, I found myself in a space where I had to figure myself out and make good decisions myself with no pressure. So, and for a young man, wanting to explore the world, I've seen a lot of stuff that other people were doing. And I'm like, okay, maybe this is what life should look like. Now you're a professional rugby player. People are watching you on TV. You feel important. You're like, yeah, mense wit weekes, So when I go out, the first thing I do is I'm scouting, like I'm checking, hey, who's here now, what's the move for tonight? And, I found myself quickly, my rugby also started dipping. And I realized, I'm like, okay, you know what? The thing that I've asked God for so long, that He blessed me with, I'm now trying to throw away, because I think that there's a different life for me out there. But what I didn't understand was, like, God gave me the sport to play, to have a platform so that I can inspire people and that I can motivate people and I can teach people the ways of the Lord instead of
Yes.
me being, and there's nothing wrong with going to a club, but me being in clubs and being, drunk and doing all of that stuff and trying to live the wrong way, maybe I would have had 4 or 5 little babies running around, you don't know what life could have been, So it was kind of like where I found my rugby dipping. And I remember to this day, there was one meeting that I had with one of the coaches, and I hadn't been scoring for a few games. I wasn't myself, I wasn't playing well. And the coach was like, listen, dude, like, I feel like I'm not gonna name the coach, but he's like, listen, I feel like you're not on par. I feel like my oma's van He said my grandmother's faster than you, and he's like basically I felt like he wanted to tell me directly, listen, you're not playing well, but he just didn't have a good way of saying it. And what
Yeah.
that did was immediately that onbeskofte, that rude Courtnall came out. And like and it was at that moment where I realized, like, okay, it's honestly cool. I haven't been playing well. I don't like the way this sounds, but I know what I'm capable of. And I
Yeah.
stood, put my foot down and I said, you know what, it's fine. Go fetch all your guys, put them on the line and let's see what's going on. But in that moment, I realized when I left, I didn't have a good meeting with him. He said, listen, after the meeting, he's like, I'll give you one more shot this weekend, and we'll see what happens after that. Went back to my room. We, we were in a rugby course, went to my room and just prayed about it. Contacted my pastor. I had a mentor, that I worked very closely with. I contacted him. I said, listen, this is what happened now. I know I haven't been, and he's like, listen, I've kind of been watching you and seeing that you're slipping a little bit, and maybe this was your wake up call, to think that rugby could be taken away from you just because you're making bad decisions in your life. And that was kind of where that recommitment came, and I was like, what, I know exactly who I am and who I'm supposed to be. If I'm not that, I'm not going to go far. If I'm that, God has made his promise already, but I can't walk
Yeah.
away from that promise. I need to commit, and I need to be true to who God wants me to be.
Right. So this podcast is based on Nicholas and I think about people who we perceive to be happy and live a very happy
Mm,
life. We can invite those people on to go, listen, we only see a little window of your life on social media, and basically try and interrogate and figure out what the recipe to that happiness is. But it's
mm,
boiled down to three core pillars that we kind of discuss every episode, and those pillars are gratitude, acceptance, and perspective. And I think what we've learned through the 30 episodes before this is that happiness doesn't at all exist the way we thought it exists. It doesn't exist tomorrow. It doesn't exist yesterday. It exists only now, in the moment.
mm,
You got to find your happiness where your feet are right now.
mm,
Accepting who you are, what you are, where you are, why you are, is a big part of I think achieving that happiness, and maybe even the word isn't happiness, maybe the word is peace, or whatever resonates with you. And the last one is
mm,
just perspective in terms of, I think, how you see the world and how you perceive the world. It plays a massive part in your happiness. So I'd really like us to get into that. I watch you online. You have the most adorable Instagram ready family. Everybody in the family is beautiful. Everybody in the family looks good on camera. I'm not even gonna lie, I am often so jealous that your waistline plus your wife's waistline plus all the lighties waistline is half of my actual
I,
waistline. Like, I've never seen a more beautiful and wholesome looking family. So let's start there. What does gratitude mean in the life of God?
sure. For me, this is the life I always wanted. I think, when you grow up as a child and you envision yourself doing something, I mean, you guys are living your dreams as well. So you would be able to relate to that, like once you live the life that you've always dreamt of living,
Yeah.
you know, you have to be grateful for that. I'm still sometimes in those, and I'm getting goosebumps while I'm sitting here as I'm saying that, because obviously we didn't discuss this before the time, like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just you have to be grateful for that. Sometimes I find myself still having to pinch myself, like you get the tough times, you go through the trouble sometimes, but this is the life I always wanted, and this is the vision I had. I wanted a wife, two kids, it's like that way they say, like in America, they say the American dream, picket fence, all of that
Yes,
stuff.
yes, yes,
All of the
yes.
things that I thought would be an ideal life for me one day is exactly what I'm living at the moment. So how can you not be grateful? Like
And where are you living at the moment? When we ask.
in Cape Town, in Cape Town.
Back in Cape Town.
Yeah. We're back in Cape Town at the moment. Yeah,
No, no,
yeah, yeah,
welcome.
yeah,
I didn't know you
yeah.
were still in.
He's
Yeah,
that
no,
guy that washes his Mercedes Benz without his shirt on outside. You know what I mean? You know that guy
hey,
that washes the
hey,
car on the street, glistening. You know what I mean? He's like,
yo, but then also, you mentioned family, you mentioned Instagrammable already and all of that kind of stuff. And my
mm,
wife and I, we talk a lot and we talk about deep things. And, it's not all sunshine, like all the time. People think that, your life is so perfect when they see a picture on Instagram, and I try and be as transparent as I can possibly be without feeding, the haters or feeding the people out there
yeah,
that want to
yeah,
see you
yeah.
fail, want to see you do bad. And I'm not a guy that focus on all that stuff, but I try and be as transparent as I possibly can, but in that as well, like that's only the grace of God. Like that can only be by the grace that people can perceive and see you as, like what we now use this the term here, and this what you mentioned now was Instagrammable. I call it as just God's grace, and his light is just shining through us. We're radiating what God has put
Love
in
that.
us.
Love
So
that.
and that's how I look at it, and it keeps me grounded, because I know I'm blessed. I know that God will continue to work and shine through me, as long as I remain at his feet. So it's not like we're not trying to be that people, like we just being
Mm,
ourselves.
mm,
And if you
And I,
get to be yourself and people get to find inspiration or find something good or something to smile about or to laugh about, like the funny corny videos that we do as well, it's we're all about good vibes and making people laugh and smile, but it also makes us feel good. It's
yes.
and that's what it's all about. I've never been there was a time in my life where I was trying to be Instagram famous, be the most popular guy, all
Yeah.
of that. Like I
Yeah.
said earlier in the interview, I wasn't the most popular guy. Now I've got a platform, So there was a time in my life where I almost blurred the lines and I got a little bit confused. But I quickly realized, like, you know what, that's not what it is for me, And humility is something that I try to live and strive for each and every day. I don't always get it right, but that's one thing that I try and strive for, because that's the one thing that I'm drawn to most about people that are successful, that have built something. And it's one thing that I love about you guys. You guys have achieved so much, and you humble, yeah, it's amazing to have examples like that, in this space. It's a privilege.
thank you.
Bra, we stand in your shadow. I think I speak on behalf of Nick and I. We look up to you and marvel because I think likewise. I think we marvel at how humble you are, and I think Nick and I are also very conscious that you don't have to be humble because we're very conscious of how much work you have to put in to achieve the things that you now celebrate. You know what I mean? And I'm always grateful when I meet somebody who's not thinking about the cost of what they have all the time and kind of using that to negate gratitude. But you mentioned that it hasn't always kind of been roses.
Mm,
Um, I remember the loss of your dad and
mm,
what that kind of did to you.
mm,
Um, how did grief play a role? Because I don't know how to explain it to you, but the light that you speak of that we are also drawn to
mm.
got brighter after this massive loss. I can't explain that. Maybe you can help me understand.
Yeah. I think when you talk about the light being brighter after, it took a long time. For me,
Hundred
the,
percent,
the
100%.
grief the grieving period was hectic. It was a lot for
Mm,
me. But I now have a lot of empathy. When I meet people who have lost, a parent who have lost like someone close to them. It used to be an easy thing for me to just say, you know what, they're in a better place, until
yeah,
I had to deal with and understand what that term
hundred
even
percent.
means. So I've got a lot of empathy, and I think it's made me a lot more grateful as well for life. Like I think about it every other week. I'm like, what, I'm so grateful to just have breath in my body and be alive. Be able to plan and do stuff, because my father had so many plans. 53 years old is a very young age. He just planned his retirement and then just got sick suddenly, and there it was, done. So but he's left so many good things with me, and we had such a good relationship. Like we never got off a phone call not saying I love you. Like we spoke all the time. He was my one guy that if I'm busy with contract negotiations, I don't phone my agent and say, what do you think I must do? I phone my
Yeah.
father. He's the wisdom. Like he used to call himself MacGyver. He could fix anything. He could do anything. He could service a car. He can play music. He can sing. He can dance. He knows the law. He had such a broad spectrum of what he could do, and that's why he called himself MacGyver. And it's something that I strive to be able to do. It's something I've got a good example that I can live to, and the legacy has moved on, and I've got a privilege of now being able to build my own legacy. So I understand that his time was his time, but it was horrible for me. It was really difficult for me to even talk about it. Like I couldn't have a
I
conversation
know.
like this without breaking down and crying and just not understanding what it is that I'm feeling. And until I started understanding that these emotions are normal, it's okay to deal with these things. And sometimes you're still gonna have those moments. But it just is what it is. It's part of life, and we need to understand that. So it's made me. I think the biggest thing that I took out of it is I understand loss a lot better now, because losing your grandfather or losing it wasn't the same for me as losing my
Mhm.
father. That played such a big role, and he's such a big figure in my life. And even the inspiration behind me playing rugby was, it started with watching rugby with my father. We religiously watched Super Rugby from 5 o'clock the morning till the Sunday morning games. So, and that's where the love started from. So I get to live a dream that he kind of activated in my life. So yeah, I've got so much to where I can go on a field, or where I can live myself out, and I can honor him. And also just be grateful for what he deposited in me.
Yeah. You know what I love about that is that it's so firstly, as a father, I can just imagine the pride and the joy he must have had seeing his son
Mm,
being
mm,
able to achieve the dream that he's always had. It must be a
mm.
beautiful thing to be able to see.
Yeah.
And it goes straight into our second point, talking about acceptance, because like you're saying, you weren't able to have the conversation about the loss. You weren't able to do these things,
Mm,
until you, I assume, had to accept that this is where you are. It is what it is, as you say,
mm,
and then start to shift your perspective and the way you look at it too. Instead of the fact that he's gone, but the fact that he encouraged you and motivated you to become the human that you are, the father that you are, the husband that you are.
mm,
And I just want to say, I think it's a beautiful thing, and it's especially looking at the type of person that you've become in your life. Like Jay said earlier, we look up to you, and it's an inspiration to see you living your dreams, and also to hear your story now. It's very touching, and I hope that whoever's watching gets to
mm,
understand
mm.
how to go through the process, because I think a lot of people also feel like
Yeah.
it's just got to, people that around you will go, he's in a better place. You've got to move on now. But
Mm,
everyone's got their own process that they have to go through,
Mm,
and
mm.
yep.
you have to go through the process. I think that's very
Mm.
So
100%. Sorry, I just wanted to add on that as well. Like it,
Ed,
it doesn't matter how long it takes. Like you can take your time with it. And I think that's the biggest thing for me. Like I wanted to deal with it immediately, and it doesn't work like that. Like it takes time, but as soon, like as time passes, you get through it, and you learn to live with that, and you adjust. I think that's the biggest thing in life that we need to learn, is to adjust, because things are happening around you every single day. If you can't adjust and move with change, like it's just, you're going to be stuck in one place, and you'll never be able to move forward.
you don't like where
I,
you are. Move.
I love that as an example of acceptance, and I think how important it is. We do a stage bit, and I mean I repeat these things so much, but the stage bit is accepting where you are is not surrendering. It's not admitting defeat, but it allows you to move to the next step. So we use a GPS analogy where we go, acceptance means you can tell the GPS where you are. GPS can't help you if you won't tell it where you are. So you first have to accept where you are in order to start moving to where you'd like to be. So the straightforward question is, um, has that been true in terms of acceptance in your life, of helping that shine be so bright?
Yeah, and I think, this is not just with the bad stuff, acceptance
Yeah.
is with everything, the good things as well, like, because a lot of the times I've met or I've seen people who have it so good, but, it's just thrown away, it's like,
Yeah.
so
They can
it's both. It's both ways. I don't want to go into much detail with that, just now, yeah. But yeah,
No,
for
no, no,
me,
bro. That's a big point. That's a big point.
100%. For me, acceptance, is definitely a part of how, you get through things and you let your light shine, but I, and I'm gonna sound like a tape recorder, it's just the grace, man. Like, you pray about stuff every single day. You ask God for something, and it's
Mm, mm,
one day a little bit better, one day it's bad, and then before you know it, without you realizing, it gets better, like without you realizing. But the fact that you accept something and understand that, what this is, and I'm saying it is what it is, and it might sound insensitive, but it literally is that term, like life
yeah,
at the moment
we understand
where
that. Yeah.
you are, it is what it is, and you need to take that and then move forward. So I've always been a person that, whatever my life is or wherever I'm at, or what's happening, I'm always like, okay, what is happening at the moment, and how can I take this and go forward to where I want to go, so, and that's part of the whole answer, with saying that I accept where I'm at, I accept what's going on around me. It doesn't mean, if let's say, for instance, I've got a big dream and it's not realizing, it doesn't mean I'm accepting that, but I'm saying, when things happen in your life, good and bad, if you can accept that, and we know exactly where we are and where we want to go, we can then use that information and use all of that and then push on to where we need to go. Because at the end of the day, the wheel keeps turning, life goes on, and you've got a vision and God wants to do something in your life. But if you don't allow that to happen, you'll find yourself, like I said a little bit earlier, you'll find yourself stuck and then not live to your fullest potential. And it's probably, if you had to ask me, what are some of your biggest fears in life, and that would be
Mm,
right at the
mm.
top of the list, would be not living to the potential that God has set out for me. Like, that's the last thing that you want to do, is not live your fullest life that God is. Like, if God had written a whole book about your life and you don't get to chapter 50, that's your last chapter. You don't get to
Yeah.
that doing exactly what God has scripted in that book. I would perceive that to be an unsuccessful life. Like, I want to be successful knowing that I've lived everything that God had put out there for me.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
Nick, sorry to jump in again, but there's every episode we do, there's like a line that my brain goes, "That's why you came today. You
Mm,
had to hear that." In all the
mm,
episodes, we've spoken about acceptance. Nobody's ever said it's not just about accepting the bad. You also have to accept the good. It's that statement of our greatest fear is not that we are not capable, but that we are
mm.
so capable. And I
Yes.
think that that's what I needed to hear today, is
Mm,
sometimes you need to accept your greatness as well. Sometimes you need to
yes.
accept that you're talented. Sometimes you need to accept that
Mm,
you're gifted. Sometimes you need
mm,
to ignore the naysayer that is yourself. Sometimes it's
mhm,
you, the one that's telling yourself that you're not worthy, you're not deserving, or that you're not capable, where clearly you are.
mm.
That's the sentence for me today.
Yeah.
Acceptance is not only about accepting the bad, but sometimes you also have to accept the good, because if you don't, that's when you see people throw it away because they don't feel deserving.
Yes. Yo, I'll clap to that as well.
Yeah,
No,
come on.
I was gonna say, it's the acceptance thing is I think has been so difficult for I find people think people find so difficult because the thing that I read recently is when you changed your mindset, shifted to your mindset to you've accepted where you are, you realize that you're in a place you don't want to be, so your mindset shifts to I need to do more and work more and be more to get to where
Mm,
I want to go. The frustration comes in because in that moment, although you have this new mindset, you're still in the place you don't want to be. So you
mm,
feel like you're failing every day, but you feel like that because you're not realizing that the place you are now, what the base is, you arrived there based on decisions made by your previous version of yourself that
Mhm.
got you. So now your new version has to make new decisions to get you to where you want to go. And
Mm.
that doesn't happen without the acceptance, without the
Yeah.
understanding that you've got to make the change. Nobody's coming to save you. You've got to
Yep.
do the thing, live to your fullest potential. And
Yep.
just because you're not where you are or not where you want to be, doesn't mean you can't get there.
Mm. That's powerful, man. It's your life at the end of the day. You gotta live it.
You know, I last weekend, Nick, we have to try and get her on the podcast, but I'll just tell you guys a quick story. So last week, I watched, I got to introduce Lyra for the first time since she's had a stroke, and Lyra
Sure.
is doing this beautiful talk called "Stroke of Luck."
Mm.
And firstly, it articulated my greatest fear because she lost her voice, which was for me losing my funny is something that gives me nightmares. I'm sure, like
Mm.
as an athlete, every time you step out onto the field, you are conscious that a tackle could end your career. You know what I mean? We
Mm-hmm.
see that
Yep.
all the time, and to not be able to execute this deep passion, this thing that you fought so long for. But anyway, long story short, and I don't want to give away too much of Lyra's story, but at the end of it, she speaks about the fact that her mom passed last year. And then she speaks about the fact that the stroke only affected her ability to read, write, and speak. So physically, she was fine. Mentally, she was fine. Beyond reading, writing, and speaking comprehension was fine. So she says for the 10 months from diagnosis to her mom passing, she was able to care for her mom. And she
Mm.
became hyper conscious of the fact that if she was working normally, she would have just hired somebody to take care of her mom while she continues touring because, bills must be paid, businesses must
Mm.
be run, etc. And she said she had this moment where she thought to herself, if I was given the choice, I'd choose the stroke every time because that 10 months that I got to spend with my mom were the most important 10 months of our relationship and something that I will hold dear forever. And for me, it was such beautiful context to sometimes, I like that that you believe your story is not in your hands.
Mm.
That you're fulfilling a prophecy that is your story. And I think that sometimes what happens is we want to be too much in control. We think we know what's best for us. We think we know where we're supposed to be. We
Mm.
think that this life is supposed to come without pain, without disappointment. But every single thing seems to be pushing us forward and helping us grow. And it's the way you lean into that, I
Mm.
think that makes the difference. But what was loudest for me when I heard her say that was she has a choice. There's perspective there. You have a choice to see this as a terrible thing and let it cripple you forever. You've got a choice to
Yeah.
see this as something that will empower you and help you grow. Now, dude, you're a positive person. You're obviously highly competitive, but I've never been in your presence when you haven't been positive. And that's like us, we all are
Mm.
used to stepping out into the world. You leave your problems behind, you put on a smiley, brave face. But
Mm.
perspective for you, how do you control that and choose the light instead of the darkness every day?
Sure. I think, for me, uh, it comes down to again the same thing. You know, this is the life, that I always wanted. So if, things don't go well or according to what I feel it should be going, I should still remain in that understanding that, what, you get to wake up every single day, go, and your office is a rugby field and a gym, and interacting with people and taking a picture here and there, and being at an appearance and doing all that. That's literally your job. Like that's what you get paid to do every single day. And this is a thing that you had as a little 7 8 year old boy. This is something that you always dreamt of. And I think, when I see it and I understand it like that, it makes it a lot easier for me to deal with that. Now, does that mean that it's not difficult sometimes? I'm in Cape Town at the moment. I'm at the Stormers. You guys probably don't even know that, because I haven't been playing much, since I've been to
Mm.
Cape Town, which is obviously a concern. It's something like, I know I'm fit, I'm healthy, I'm
I
looking
knew that
forward to
because I'm your
playing.
real friend. Nick didn't
You
know
know,
that. I know.
so No, I'm making a joke saying you guys probably don't even know because I haven't been playing much. But like it's a light way of me talking about something that I would love to see change. I would like to
Mm,
be on the
mm.
field more. I've been a little bit unlucky here and there with a few niggles, and all of that. But there's this mindset in this country that when you get to a certain age in rugby, that it's now time for you to start thinking and moving into different spaces and doing all of that kind of stuff. Now, I've been busy with stuff off the field most of my life, most of my career. I've always been busy doing all of the things, and all of that, but I still remain a rugby player, so just understanding that still, like, you can see my spirit is up. I'm positive because I know who I am. I know what I stand for, but to give people perspective and let them understand that, it hasn't been the most rosy time, it, the last year, when it comes to
Yeah,
rugby, when it comes to playing rugby, but
yeah.
how do you rock up every day confident, in your ability, working hard, keeping fit, how do you rock up every single day? And when you interact and meet people, like, how do you stay the same person? Is by understanding, listen, this is the life that I've always wanted. I'm grateful for that. And that's what gives me that perspective to understand, what, doesn't matter how things go off or on the field, I'm remain the same person. Like when you meet Courtnall, you bump into Courtnall, it will always be Courtnall, whether
It's
he's on or off the field. Yes, when I'm on the field, I've got a little bit more of an aggressive persona because that brings
the
my
game.
competitive out. But
Yeah,
it's like when you go onto a stage, you got a little bit of a different energy. That's just what it
a
Yeah.
is,
little more
But
aggressive.
when
It's
you bump into me, you should be able to see the same person, and that's how I try and live my life, man. That's a long-winded answer, and I don't know if that answers it perfectly, but that's how I understand my life.
It
I think, sorry, I think that's such an important point. And Jay and I often speak about the fact that too many times people let their mood determine what they do. And like you're saying, you are the same person. You said it earlier with the Instagrammable. You're not trying to be Instagrammable. I think the best gift we can give to ourselves as human beings is to just
Mm,
be yourself. Be yourself online, be yourself in person, be yourself at work, because then everybody knows who you are. They can decide immediately whether they want to or don't want to engage. To keep the stress away, the people that don't want to be in your life, that shouldn't be in your
mhm.
life, stay at an arm's distance because they get, but now when you're pretending to be something online, then you're pretending now when people come and take pictures with you and be this angry guy who doesn't like
Mm,
pictures. Jay's
yeah.
mother's got Jay's actually got a beautiful story about that exact thing, and I think it's a nice time to talk about Kyle these days. And
no, remind me the story.
pictures, taking pictures with
Eh?
people, taking pictures with
Oh,
people,
oh, oh. So,
celebrities.
I once, when things just started going well, my mom said, "Hey, and how's things going?" And I said, "Hey, man, it's lovely, but hey, people are irritating, man." So she said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I will be in a restaurant, and the food will be here. I've ordered. I've
Mm,
waited 15 minutes. Then the food comes. The food is here. Then somebody
mm,
says." Please, can I have a selfie? Then I'm like, why don't people have respect for your space? Like, the food is here. Like, then my mother said to me, my boy, that is the last time you will ever complain to me about the things you prayed for. People coming
mhm.
to take a selfie must remind you every single day that your prayers are being answered and your dreams are coming true. She said, you can come to me with many things, but you are not going to come to me and complain about your prayers being answered. And
Yep.
that thing is in my head every single day. It helps
Mm,
me, as you say, be the same guy. And it was an inspiration of mine for many, many years to be, the articulation in my mind was, I want to be the same guy with my friends that I am with my mother, that I am with my priest, that I am with my girlfriend, my wife now. I want to be the same guy. I don't want to be that guy that has to put on different hats and think about,
mm,
who I must be.
yep.
But I really enjoyed the setup of your attitude to where you are on the field at the moment. And
Mm,
the more we've been on this journey, the more the less room I give people for those types of complaints. So
mm,
I'm all about, if you zoom out, the picture is perfect. You zoom
mm,
too far in. So when I say that, if you zoom in too far, it's easy to be jealous of the 23 players that are on the pitch. But if
yep.
you zoom out, you realize you are one of the 20 million players that would trade a left toe to be in the position that you are, to play for the Stormers, to wear that jersey, to have been a Springbok. You know what I mean? So then I hear people complaining about the little tiny thing here, but when they zoom out, I'm like, there's nothing to complain about. The fact that you have an opportunity to come back next week, to improve, to get better, to, you know what I mean? So Fresh once said to me, DJ Fresh once said to me, what annoys him most about artists is artists. Say again?
I say, in case we thought it was the other Fresh.
There are, this is a global podcast, Nicholas. There are many freshes on earth. Okay? I'm just saying, there's Fresh Prince. There's, you never know. I could be friends with Will Smith. So, anyway, but DJ Fresh once said one of the most annoying thing about artists is, he says, they'll be at an event and an artist will say, hey man, put me on. And then he'll go, you in the room. You must realize at some point you're in the room. And I think a lot of us are guilty of not recognizing that we are in the room. So for me, you are still in the room of international rugby, very much so. And you can choose, because there's, and that's the thing about perspective is, I'm not saying the other perspective doesn't exist, in terms of you could be frustrated, overwhelmed, sad, depressed, have anxiety around the fact that you're not getting as much field time as you'd like, but you choose to see it the other way. And I think that changes the way you show up. It changes your energy every single day, on and off the field, which is one. Sorry, I get so excited and motivated by these things, because I'm very conscious. Yeah, but it's like, I'm very conscious that we've got to keep speaking about these things, because the more we speak about it, the more it reinforces us, because normal is to be sad, to be upset, to be frustrated. It's become a normal. So it's so easy to take things for granted. And then we're just trying to remind ourselves every single day how much we've got to be grateful for. And Brad, you're so wonderful, Courts. Just ask a question. I'm elated.
No, so but I was backing you up again, because that was my point. The mindset, that perspective, perception, the way you see the world determines the way you're going to show up with the thing that you need to do. And the book that I'm reading at the moment just talks about, if you are not willing to get up and do the work, nobody's coming. Nothing that's going to save you. You're going to keep expecting the promotion without putting in the effort to get the promotion. And the simple thing is going, I'm there. It's not going the way it needs to go, or the way I want it to go. So I got to put in extra hours, extra training. I got to do whatever I got to do to get on. And it's a beautiful thing.
100%. You were just saying something. Sorry, you were just saying something that just made me think of this. Like, when you think about the financial markets, and I'm not a financial expert, but when you think about the markets and trading and all of that kind of stuff, there's a stat that's going around, that says 88% of people are losing. They're not making money. They're not making the right decisions. But then there's a 12%, So then if you look at what everyone is doing, and it gets me to that point, there's 100% of people. You look at what everyone is doing, then you're saying sadness and aggression and depression, all that, it's the norm, So why not choose the other side and see, like what that could look like? If you can look at the world and you see what the world is like and it's not what you like, then why do you keep doing that? Like, do something different. Like, choose happiness, choose goodness, choose, gratitude, choose that, and see what it will do for your life. Who knows? Like, we out here talking about all of this. We're not making the right decision. I'm just going to speak for myself. I don't make the right decision every day. I'm not always as grateful as I can be. I'm not always as happy as I can be. But I choose most days to go that direction, and it's done a lot of good in my life. So I think for me is, I look at that, like, if you look at a stat like that, like, why do whatever most people are doing, try and do the other way, and then eventually we can maybe change the world around and make it flip side, where we have 88% of people doing the right thing and 12% making the wrong thing, and then what could that world look like, and I always have this ideal stuff in my head. I think about weird stuff. I think about, what if we could have a world full of happy, kind, humble, good people more often than what you get the bad apple, like, or the bad things that people have to like feel and experience, and those emotions are real. We're not saying that I'm not saying the emotion is not real. Being angry or being sad or being despondent and stuff like that, these are things that will happen in your life eventually, somewhere along the line. But if you choose the other side, there's just so much more fruit on that side waiting for you to be enjoyed. Why not give it a go?
And also just the understanding that you have that so many people don't realize that it's a choice that you choose to be happy, you
Exactly.
choose to be angry.
Your choice. No one else
Yes,
can choose for you. Your choice.
You,
100%.
we speak often about people who are so oblivious that always somebody else's fault. Everything
Hmm.
that goes on in their life. Oh, I don't get enough time on the field because the coach doesn't like me. I don't get enough time because I'm too old. I don't get it. Then there's all these stories when in actual fact you're just making the wrong choices. So choose to be
Yep.
happy, choose to do the right things. And like you say, we're not saying we do that all the time. I most definitely don't make the right choices all the time. I'm not happy and sunshine every single day. But
Mm.
on the days where I have the power to change my own mood and change my own perspective of the world, I choose to do that because I choose to live a life that is happier and fuller. I don't want to get to the end of my life and go, I chose anger over happy. I chose sad
Yep.
over happy when I had the choice between the two. And I think just
Mm.
the big thing that I want to leave is just to understand for everybody that's watching, you have the choice.
Amen.
You make the choice. Yes. Thank you for
Amen.
And I love that both of you have confirmed that it's not perfect. It's a
that.
everyday choice, and I think the objective starts to become more good days than bad days. And the more
Mm.
often you can train your brain to make the choice, I get to a space now where, I always say to my wife, just give me 45 minutes in the morning just to choose happiness. Because sometimes I wake up in whatever mood. So just
Mm.
allow me to just get to a point where I've chosen how I'm going to treat today, how I'm going to find today. Bra, you have been an absolute gift. We wrap up with a very simple, we call it the Goliath Happiness Index, where we
Mm.
just ask you to rate 1 to 5, 1 being couldn't be worse, 5 being couldn't be better. In terms of gratitude, acceptance, and perspective, so we go gratitude, where is Courtnall Skosan? Gratitude 1 to 5.
Your gratitude is a full five. I'm grateful, man.
I feel like you
Love
have
that.
three level 5 gratitude
Yeah.
ones. Nah,
Stage
I would
6.
I would have loved it with gratitude. It's so inspiring. It's such a beautiful thing. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Acceptance 1 to 5.
Acceptance, I would give a five as well because yeah, that's a good one for me.
It is what it is. People
Mhm.
people think that it's a pessimistic sentence. It is what it is has been the most freeing sentence for I think Nicholas and I. And it's just because it is not an admission of defeat, but it's an acceptance of where you are. And if you don't accept where you are, you cannot go where you are trying to go. People are
Also,
focused
you
on
choose
that
to see it as a
destination.
negative thing. People choose to see it as a negative statement, as pessimistic.
Choose.
Mm.
Perspective 1 to 5.
Perspective, I would give a four. The only reason I'm taking one away is because I still, it's a constant work for me. It's
Mm.
although I've have it figured out, or I think I might have it figured out, but I give it a four just because I think there's room for improvement. There's definitely room for improvement in that area.
So sometimes you still want to hoot and swear at the other discussion.
Sometimes I
You,
do
you,
still hoot and swear.
you
It's
see what I'm
I'm
saying?
not proud.
See what
I'm
I'm
not
saying?
proud, but it is what it is. It is what it
100%.
is. But also,
So
Nicholas will tell you about Swift drivers and how they carry on the roads.
Well, guys, Cape Town traffic is, oh, yeah. I just struggled outside where I'm at the moment for 25 minutes just to find a parking. Yeah, I'm lucky I
see,
was
but
early, otherwise I would have been late for
it's
this.
good to complain about the park, struggling to find a parking, or be grateful that you have a car to park.
You see,
You
but
see?
that's why the perspective needs a little bit more work.
Yes. No, I'm done. Next week. I'm going to say it.
It's so
Awesome. Reach out, man.
it works all the way through because you need some acceptance to be able to go 4 out of 5 for perspective. And that without accepting it, then you pretend, and there's no pretending because you're only lying to yourself. You've got to choose, don't lie to yourself. Just,
Yeah.
don't lie to yourself. I want to say, my brother, we love you. We appreciate you. I want to send love to your fro, love to the lighties. Coach, we are so proud of you, and not just for the stuff you've done on the field, but proud of the man that you've become, the man that you continue to be. You're a giant, brah. You're an absolute giant, and thank you so much for saying yes to this. We really can't thank you enough, and just wishing you every success, health, happiness, and money. Why not?
Hey.
All of
No,
the best when the fam. We love it.
thanks so
There's no
much.
we love it. All of it.
No, thank you so
Courtnall,
much, guys. Same. Sorry, just from my side as well. Like you know how much I love you guys. You know how much I look up to you guys. Thank you for being that for me or to me. And then like with this journey as well, I love the fact that we can have these types of conversations. So please, just continue. I'm in the same space now as well. But yeah, just loving it, man. And I wish you guys just all the best. May this be one of the biggest podcasts in the world. Because there's a
amen.
lot of valuable content. There's a lot of good things in here. So I just want to thank you guys for that. And then also your families, man. A lot of love, a lot of blessings. And then like you said, just a lot of blessings, money, everything. Everything that's good.
Yeah. And your plug.
Tell us where we can find your podcast. You're doing some amazing things, spreading lots of joy.
Sure, man. We're trying. I'm trying to get all the players and guys that are transitioning. I'm trying to get all these stories out there. It's this vision is something that I've had for 6 years. But to make a long story short, Skosan Unplugged is the channel that you can look for on YouTube. If you're on Instagram and you enjoy a few short clips, or Facebook, you can check there to see if you're interested in finding out more. It's also Skosan Unplugged at Skosan Unplugged, and then on YouTube as well. Same.
At Skosan Unplugged on everything. This has been Courtnall Skosan on the Happiness Economy podcast.
Online podcast
Yes.
episode.
And you know what's crazy, bruh? As we let you go, what's crazy is when you said you hope that this becomes the biggest podcast in the world. That's really not the point, because it's like every time we do this, we've won already. Like this thing doesn't even need to be. It's
Exactly.
been so fruitful for my life. So I just hope that whoever, it doesn't need to be the biggest, but I just hope that you listen till the end, and I hope that it
Sure.
fed you like it fed us, and we're gonna continue to do this because it feeds us. And brah, appreciate you so much, dog.
Lots of love. Blessings.